You are lying in bed at 3 in the morning and your mind is racing. Again, you are replaying that conversation from earlier, the one where you said something and immediately regretted it, where you could feel yourself doing the thing you always do, the thing you swore you would not do this time. You watched yourself shrink. You watched yourself apologize for things you did not do wrong. You watched yourself agree when you wanted to say no. You watched yourself perform a version of yourself that is acceptable, likable, safe. And now, alone in the dark, you hate yourself for it. You wonder why you cannot just be normal. Why you cannot just speak your mind without this crushing anxiety. Why you cannot set boundaries without feeling like you are being cruel. Why you cannot accept a compliment without immediately deflecting it. Why you cannot let someone care about you without pushing them away. Why you keep repeating the same patterns even though you can see them happening, even though you know better. Even though you have done so much work on yourself. You read the books, you watch the videos, you understand intellectually what you are doing wrong. But when the moment comes, when you are actually in the situation, you do it anyway. The same pattern, the same response, the same version of yourself that you thought you had outgrown, and you feel broken. You feel like there is something fundamentally wrong with you that cannot be fixed. Like everyone else got the manual for being a functional human and you got a corrupted file. Like you are trying so hard and getting nowhere. Like you will be stuck in these patterns forever. But what if I told you something that changes everything? What if I told you that you are not broken? That there is nothing wrong with you that needs to be fixed? What if I told you that everything you are doing, every pattern you cannot seem to break, every response that feels automatic and out of your control, what if all of that is not a flaw but a program? A program that was installed in you before you were old enough to consent, before you had the capacity to understand what was happening, before you had any choice in the matter. You are not broken. You are running software that was written by someone else. And that software is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is keeping you safe. It is helping you survive. It is protecting you from dangers that may no longer exist, but felt very real when the program was written. Freud spent his entire career trying to help people understand this. He was trying to show people that their symptoms, their patterns, their seemingly irrational behaviors were not random. They were not evidence of being fundamentally flawed. They were adaptations. They were survival strategies. They were the psyche doing its job. And that job is to keep you alive, not to make you happy, not to make you fulfilled, not to help you live your best life, just to keep you alive. And if the program that keeps you alive also keeps you small, keeps you lonely, keeps you stuck, well, that is a price your unconscious is willing to pay, because alive and miserable is still alive. Here is what Freud understood that most people miss. Your personality is not you. Your responses are not you. Your patterns are not you. They are programs. They are learned behaviors. They are adaptations to the environment you grew up in. And the key word there is environment. Not your fault, not your choice, not your failure. Environment. You came into this world as a blank slate. Well, not entirely blank. You had temperament. You had certain predispositions. But the content? The specific ways you learned to be in the world? That was all programmed by your early experiences, by how your caregivers responded to you, by what behaviors got rewarded and which ones got punished, by what was safe to express and what had to be hidden, by what you learned about love, about trust, about your own worth. And here is the thing about programming. It happens unconsciously. You did not sit down and decide to become someone who cannot accept love. You did not choose to become someone who sabotages good things. You did not elect to become someone who feels responsible for everyone's emotions. Those patterns got installed while you were young, while your brain was still developing, while you were learning the rules of your particular family system. And once a program is installed, once it is written into your unconscious, it runs automatically. You do not think about it. You do not decide to do it. It just happens. Because that is what programs do. They run in the background, determining your responses before your conscious mind even knows what is happening. Think about it this way. Imagine a child growing up in a house where anger was dangerous. Maybe one or both parents had explosive tempers. Maybe anger led to violence, to abandonment, to the withdrawal of love. That child learns very quickly that expressing anger is not safe. So what does the psyche do? It creates a program that says anger equals danger. Anger must be suppressed. Anger must be turned inward or redirected or denied entirely. And that program saves that child. It keeps them safe. It helps them survive an environment where expressing anger could have devastating consequences. But then that child grows up. They become an adult. They are no longer in that dangerous environment, but the program is still running. They still cannot express anger. They still turn it inward. They still feel guilty for feeling something that is a normal human emotion. And they wonder why. They wonder what is wrong with them. Why they cannot just stand up for themselves. Why they let people walk all over them. Why they smile when they want to scream. But nothing is wrong with them. The program is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is just that the program was designed for a different reality, for a child who needed to stay safe in an unsafe environment, not for an adult trying to have healthy relationships in a different context. The program is outdated, but it is still running. And until you understand that, until you can see it clearly, you cannot change it, because you cannot change what you cannot see. If you are starting to recognize your own programming, if you are beginning to see that your patterns are not you, but programs running in you, take a moment and like this video, not just for engagement, but as acknowledgement, as a marker that something is shifting, that you are starting to see yourself differently. Let me pause here for a moment because I need to ask you something that matters. Have you ever felt like you are living two lives at once? The one everyone sees, where you smile and function and pretend everything is fine, and the one inside your head, where you are struggling, confused, doubting every choice you make. That split, that exhausting performance of being okay when you are not, it is something Freud understood deeply. And I want you to know something. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are human. And what you are feeling right now, this exact struggle you are carrying, someone else watching this video is feeling it too. They are sitting there thinking they are the only one, just like you might be thinking right now. So I'm going to ask you to do something that might feel vulnerable, but it is important. Go down to the comments right now and type this exact phrase. I feel this. Just those 3 words. I feel this. You do not need to explain. You do not need to write your whole story. Just let those words be your voice today. Because when you do that, something powerful happens. The person scrolling through these comments, the one who feels completely alone in their pain, they are going to see your comment. And for the first time in maybe days, weeks, or months, they are going to realize they are not alone either. Your 3 words might be the thing that helps them breathe a little easier tonight. This is not just about engagement. This is about connection. This is about breaking the silence that keeps us isolated in our suffering. Freud built his entire life's work on one simple truth. We heal when we speak what has been hidden. So speak it now. Go to the comments, type I feel this, and know that by doing so, you are not just helping yourself. You are helping every single person who needs to know that what they feel is real, is valid, and is shared. Do it now. I will wait. Now let me tell you about some of the most common programs that get installed and how they shape your adult life. One of the most destructive programs is what Freud would call the program of unworthiness. This is the program that tells you that you are only valuable if you are useful, only lovable if you are perfect, only deserving if you are accomplishing. This program usually gets installed when love was conditional, when approval had to be earned, when your worth was tied to your performance rather than your existence. And once that program is installed, you spend your whole life trying to prove you are enough. You overwork, you overextend. You cannot rest because rest feels like proof that you do not deserve love. You cannot accept help because accepting help feels like admitting you are weak. You cannot celebrate your accomplishments because there is always something more you should be doing. The program is running constantly in the background, driving you, pushing you, never letting you feel like you have arrived. And you think this is just who you are. You think this is your personality, but it is not. It is a program, one that was written when you were too young to question it, when your survival depended on being good enough to earn the love that should have been given freely. Another common program is the program of hypervigilance. This is the program that says the world is dangerous. People cannot be trusted. You must always be scanning for threat. Always be prepared for the other shoe to drop. Always be ready to protect yourself. This program gets installed when your early environment was unpredictable, when you never knew which version of your caregiver you were going to get, and when safety was inconsistent, when you learned that letting your guard down led to pain. So your psyche created a program that never lets your guard down, that keeps you in a constant state of alert, that interprets neutral situations as threatening, that cannot relax because relaxation feels dangerous, and this program exhausts you. It makes intimacy almost impossible because intimacy requires vulnerability, and vulnerability feels like death. It keeps you isolated because connection means risk, and risk is not something your program allows. And you wonder why you cannot just trust people, why you cannot just let go, why you are always waiting for things to fall apart. But again, nothing is wrong with you. Your program is doing its job. It is keeping you safe. It is just that safety has become a prison, and you cannot get out until you understand that the bars are made of programming, not reality. There is also the program of caretaking. This is the program that says your needs do not matter. Other people's feelings are your responsibility. Your job is to manage everyone's emotional state, to make sure nobody is upset, to sacrifice yourself so that others can be comfortable. This program usually gets installed when you had to parent your own parents, when you were the emotional regulator in your family system, when expressing your own needs led to guilt, to being told you were selfish, to the withdrawal of love, so you learned to suppress your needs, to focus entirely on others, to derive your worth from how well you take care of everyone else. And now, as an adult, you cannot say no. You cannot set boundaries. You feel responsible for everyone's happiness. You attract people who take advantage of your caretaking, and you wonder why you feel so empty. Why you are surrounded by people but feel completely alone. Why nobody seems to care about you the way you care about them. But the truth is, you have never given anyone the chance to care for you. Your program will not let them. Your program says that being cared for is dangerous, that having needs makes you a burden, that your job is to give, not to receive. So you keep giving, and you keep emptying yourself, and you keep wondering why nothing you do is ever enough. Freud would tell you that all of these programs, and the hundreds of other programs that might be running in your psyche, they all serve a function. They are all defense mechanisms, ways the ego learned to navigate an environment that felt threatening. And here is the key insight. These programs were adaptive when they were installed. They helped you survive. They protected you from pain that you could not handle at the time. The problem is not that you have these programs. The problem is that they are still running, even though the original conditions no longer exist. You are not in danger anymore, but your program still thinks you are. You are not that powerless child anymore. But your program was written by that child and it has not been updated. So you keep responding to current situations as if they are past situations. You keep protecting yourself from dangers that are no longer there. You keep running software that was designed for a reality you no longer live in. And that is why you feel stuck. That is why insight is not enough. That is why knowing what you are doing wrong does not help you stop doing it. Because knowing exists in your conscious mind, but the programming exists in your unconscious. And your unconscious is much more powerful than your conscious mind. It controls about 95% of your behavior. So until you reprogram the unconscious, until you update the software, the pattern will keep running no matter how much you consciously want it to stop. You already know this, but we're not ready to understand ourselves alone. The human mind is vast, complex, and often frightening to explore without guidance. If this content is helping you see yourself more clearly, if these insights about Freud's work are bringing light to parts of yourself you've kept hidden, then consider subscribing to this channel. This is not just another psychology channel. This is a space where we explore the depths of human nature together, where we take the most profound concepts from psychoanalysis and make them accessible, practical, and deeply personal. Every video here is designed to help you understand not just theory but yourself, your patterns, your fears, your desires, the invisible forces that have been shaping your choices without your awareness. When you subscribe, you are making a commitment to yourself. You are saying that you are ready to look deeper, to understand more, to stop running from the truth of who you are. And I promise you this, I will be here every week, bringing you insights that matter, explanations that actually make sense, and perspectives that can genuinely change how you see yourself and the world around you. This journey of self-understanding is not easy. Freud knew this. He spent his entire life mapping the human psyche precisely because he understood how lost we can feel inside our own minds. But you do not have to walk this path alone. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Become part of a community of people who have decided that understanding themselves is worth the discomfort, worth the effort, worth the time. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. And that relationship deserves your attention, your curiosity, and your courage. So subscribe now, and let's continue this exploration together. Your future self will thank you for taking this step today. So how do you reprogram? How do you update software that was installed before you had conscious awareness? Freud would tell you that the first step is to make the unconscious conscious, to bring the programming into awareness, to see it clearly, to understand where it came from, what function it serves, and how it is operating in your current life. Because once you can see it, once you can observe it as a program rather than experiencing it as your identity, you create space. Space between stimulus and response. Space between trigger and reaction. Space where choice becomes possible. And that space is where change happens. Not through willpower, not through positive thinking, not through just trying harder, but through awareness. Through consistently catching the program in the moment it is about to run and making a different choice, over and over, until new neural pathways form, until new programs get written, until the old program loses its power because you stop feeding it with repetition. But here is what makes this hard. Your programs resist change, because to your unconscious these programs are survival. Changing them feels dangerous. It feels like you are dismantling the very thing that has kept you safe all these years. So when you try to change, when you try to set a boundary or express anger or accept love or believe in your worth, your unconscious sounds the alarm. It floods you with anxiety. It tells you that something terrible will happen if you do this differently. It pulls you back toward the familiar pattern because familiar feels safe, even when familiar is destroying you. And this is where most people give up. They try to change. They feel the anxiety. They assume the anxiety means they are doing something wrong. So they retreat back to the old pattern. They tell themselves that this is just who they are, that they cannot change. But Freud would tell you that the anxiety is not a stop sign. It is a sign that you are on the right track. It means you are challenging the old programming, and the old programming is fighting to survive. So the anxiety is not evidence that you should stop. It is evidence that you should keep going, that you need to sit with the discomfort long enough for your unconscious to realize that the feared consequence is not actually happening, that expressing anger does not lead to abandonment, that setting boundaries does not make you a bad person, that accepting love does not make you weak. And slowly, through repeated experience, the program updates. The unconscious learns that the new behavior is safe, and the pattern loses its grip. Here is what I need you to understand as we close. You are not broken. You never were. You are brilliantly adapted to the environment you grew up in. Your psyche did exactly what it needed to do to keep you safe. The patterns you hate, the responses you cannot control, the ways you keep sabotaging yourself, those are not flaws. Those are features. They are programs that served you once, that protected you when you were vulnerable, that got you through circumstances that would have broken someone else. But now those programs are outdated. Now they are limiting you instead of protecting you. Now they are keeping you stuck in patterns that no longer serve you. And that means you can change them. Not by hating yourself for having them. Not by trying to force yourself to be different through sheer willpower, but by understanding them, by seeing them clearly, by recognizing that they are programs, not you, and then slowly, patiently, compassionately updating them, writing new code, creating new patterns, building new neural pathways that reflect who you want to be rather than who you had to become to survive. So let me ask you this as we close. What program are you running that is keeping you stuck? What pattern keeps repeating no matter how much you want it to stop? And if you could trace that pattern back to its origin, back to the moment when your psyche learned that this was the way to stay safe, what would you find? What environment created this adaptation? What did you need this program to do for you? And now in your current life, is it still serving you? Or is it time to acknowledge that the software that saved you then is limiting you now? That you can honor what it did for you while also choosing to write something new? Share this video with someone who thinks they are broken. Someone who is beating themselves up for patterns they cannot seem to change. Someone who needs to hear that they are not flawed, just programmed. And that programming can be changed. It is not easy. It is not quick. But it is possible. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to look at your programming instead of just hating yourself for your patterns. Thank you for understanding that change starts with awareness, not judgment. You are not broken. You are running old software, and now that you can see it, you can start to update it. One choice at a time, one moment at a time, one new pattern at a time. That is not failure. That is evolution. That is the work, and you are doing it. Keep going.